Smart 24, driving business.
Good morning and welcome to Smart Means Business. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. It was quite a long weekend, but a very fruitful one. I hope you are all very well rested. We are starting up the new month of October. It is currently the 2nd of October 2023. Can you imagine? We're literally at the last quarter of the year. It's crazy how fast the year has gone. We're already at the last quarter. I hope you've gotten all your P's and Q's in order. And I hope a lot of you guys have been paid your salary, because we're getting into the period right now where we're starting a new month. We have to make sure we've balanced out our checks. We've paid for all the bills that we need to pay for, and we need to plan ahead as well. So I hope you're all very excited. We have an amazing show for you today. We're going to discuss a lot regarding business and the last quarter and things that we need to do regarding the last quarter of the year, this financial year. What are the things that you need to be doing? What are the forecasts financially? And what's the plan, right? So I looked at the roads, and the roads are quite heavy this morning with jam. So I hope you all get to your work safely and have an amazing start to the new month. But before we get into this, I would like to introduce my Zabu. Yes, we'll get into my Zabu just shortly.
Buy or sell securities on the Altex exchange from anywhere in Uganda via USSD. Step 1. To buy, dial *292#. Step 2. Select buy. Step 3. Select the product you would like to buy. For example, bonds. Step 4. Select your preferred maturity year. Step 5. Select the bond you would like to buy. Step 6. Input an amount of 15,000 Ugandan shillings or more. Step 7. Your order has been forwarded for processing. And finally, Step 8. Your order has been confirmed.
Yes, that was my Zabu, my money, my future. So all of you go check in the app. It's an amazing, amazing app to be using, especially for your investments. So today we're really talking about the financial year and the last quarter. If you're like me, this year has taken you through the ringer. It's not been an easy year at all financially for a lot of people, but that's when we start to look back at ourselves and think, what can I do differently? What worked and what failed in this financial year? So today we're going to look at some of the forecasts financially and how it's looking for Uganda in general. So all those potential investors, what you need to be doing with your money this year for the last quarter, especially towards Christmas. We're getting into the Christmas season. Yes, a lot of people are starting to think about the Christmas season. It's important that you start to think about that as well. We're getting into November, then December. Can you imagine? It's just the last 3 months of the year. So we're looking here at some of the projected financial prospects for the year. We're looking at financial forecasts and expectations for the last quarter of 2023 for Uganda. They say are generally positive according to the articles. So we see here the economy is projected to grow by 6% in this fiscal year, 2023 and 2024, and inflation is expected to reach the Bank of Uganda's medium-term target of 5% core inflation by the end of 2023. So it's not looking too bad or too shabby. We're also seeing here the following as some of the key economic indicators that are expected to perform well in this quarter. So I want you to really keep in mind and keep a key focus at these areas. We're seeing economic growth. So the economy is expected to continue to grow in the last quarter of 2023, driven by the services sector. So we're seeing the services sector and the agriculture sector growing by the end of this year. And we're seeing the services sector is expected to remain the main driver of growth. So we're seeing supported by tourism, hospitality, and financial service sectors. So of course, when you look at tourism in Uganda, this is a period where everyone is starting to come in the country and start to visit all the different areas in Uganda. And if you know me, I am all about building Uganda by Uganda. So I would encourage you guys who are coming in, all the people from the diaspora, all the people within Uganda. Plan trips within Uganda, support your own local businesses. I know a lot of people are planning trips outside of the country. People are planning trips to Kenya, to Aruba, to Mauritius and other places. But how about you start to go visit areas within Uganda? There's so many places. Murchison Falls. You can go all the way to Kabale, Lake Bunyonyi. We have the second deepest lake, I think, in the world or in Africa, right? So we need to go visit some of these places and promote the local tourism within the country. Yes, so I need you to plan for some of those things in the country because there's so many places. If you look up online, this is the best time to start planning for your trips. Start planning for your December. Where am I going to spend my money in December? As opposed to starting to shop around the Christmas time, around the holiday season. Right now is when you start to budget for the holiday season. Do not wait for December to start to budget for that holiday season. So look at places that are really cheap where you can go have a good time with your family. Places within the area. We need to promote domestic tourism within the country, right? Really bolster that tourism. Look for really cheap deals online. There's going to be Black Friday offers, so look out for that. That's always going to be online. Look out for the Jumia offers, so you can start to see how you can start to manage your expenses right now before December, because you know how we get when we get that December salary or the November salary, we immediately just fork it over without thinking it through. So it's a really good time to plan. And we're also seeing here agriculture is also expected to perform well for all the farmers and all those looking to get into agriculture. Agriculture is and it's supported by the favorable weather conditions. So obviously it was projected that the weather conditions are going to be great. It was just raining heavily this weekend. If you saw, it was so heavy. But the rains and the weather is very unpredictable, as we talked about climate change. So it's something to look up and be careful of, right? And then we're seeing, of course, government initiatives to support farmers. So there are different government initiatives that have been put in place to be able to support the farmers during this period. And we're also seeing the industrial sector is also expected to benefit from increased investment in manufacturing and construction. So if you're in the manufacturing and construction area, that is where we're looking to have a lot more investment, especially from the government side. And we also see inflation. Inflation, this is a huge conversation. Inflation is expected to remain under control in the last quarter of 2023. So now is a period where we can sort of put our P's and Q's in order, because inflation is sort of is expected to remain under control, according to this report, in the last quarter of 2023. And we're seeing that the Bank of Uganda's tight monetary policy stance. We're seeing the Bank of Uganda has raised its benchmark interest rate several times in the recent months to combat the rising inflation. So that's the move by the Bank of Uganda to be able to combat the rising inflation that's going on. So it's expected to remain a little bit stable towards the last quarter. And then we're looking at the exchange rate as well towards the last financial year. The Ugandan shilling is expected to remain relatively stable in the last quarter of 2023, supported by strong foreign exchange reserves and a slowdown in global economic growth. So we're seeing that, of course, the Ugandan shilling is expected to remain relatively stable, which is very good for us, especially during this period as we're coming into the last quarter, as we're basically finishing the last quarter, as we say. We're in the home run, the last stretch. We're expecting the shilling to remain stable, so I would take advantage of that right now whilst it's still stable. And we're also looking at the following, some of the key risks that could impact the Ugandan economy in the last quarter of 2023. So it's important to look at some of the key risks that we could be struggling with in this last quarter. So we see here global economic slowdown is one of the biggest factors. So a slowdown in global economic growth could dampen demand for Uganda's exports and reduce foreign investment inflows. So we're definitely going to see a slowdown in the foreign investment within the country. So it would be important to be able to look out for that, especially if you're an investor. There's a global economic slowdown, as we see. And then we're seeing unfavorable weather conditions. If you looked at yesterday's rain, I don't know which parts of the country, but along Muyenga area, Kabalagala, along town, the rain was heavy. It flooded in different areas of the town. So we're seeing a lot of businesses are struggling, especially businesses that have their business by the roadside. People that are in the valley or people that are in low slanting areas are struggling right now because of the heavy rains. And these rains are unpredictable. We talked about the climate change, and we also mentioned in the last week's newspaper, in the New Vision, there's basically sort of like an El Nino that's happening. So we need to be careful, especially with this changing weather, with a changing climate. This is bound to look at business slowing down, especially a lot of businesses that are in the low-hanging areas, especially the area by the roadside. So businesses are expected to slow down slightly because of the change in weather. So I would encourage you right now in this period to be more careful. Just get out your raincoat, bring your umbrella. It's important to be able to be careful in this period because the weather is unpredictable. Even this morning, as I was coming, it looked like it was about to rain. So just be very careful as you're going out there to work, as you're starting out your business. Please have those precautions in place. And we're also seeing another risk to this period is the political instability. Yeah, so political instability in Uganda or neighboring countries could disrupt economic activity and investor confidence. So of course, we're seeing with what's happening in politics, there's always that investor sort of fear of like, is it the right time to invest in this period? A lot of investors are scared to invest in the last quarter because you never know what's happening, especially politically in the country. And we're also seeing here, overall, the financial forecasts and expectations for the last quarter of 2023 for Uganda are positive, and the economy is projected to grow. Inflation is expected to remain under control, and the exchange rate is expected to relatively remain stable. However, there are some key risks, as we've talked about earlier, that could impact the economy, such as global economic slowdown, unfavorable weather conditions, and political instability. So it's really important around this time to really be keen on those areas. However, it's looking, the weather climate in terms of economics is looking quite good right now. So it's a perfect period for you to invest. It's a perfect time for you to basically look at areas in which you can start to invest. Plan for the Christmas period, plan for the holiday season. Now is the best time to really start to get down into your finances. Do not spend just like that. Do not say, I need to go just to Dubai. There's places within the country that you can go visit. We can promote domestic tourism within the country or neighboring areas, as opposed to getting $2,000 to take your whole family to Dubai. How about you get the $2,000 and go to Lake Bunyonyi? We have amazing resorts within the country that we can start to really bolster and to start to promote within this country. And of course, we're seeing that, of course, in the services sector is expected to be the main driver of economic growth, as we mentioned earlier. So if you're in the service industry, of course, we're thinking places like entertainment, recreation, accommodation, and food services. Because this is a period where we tend to eat a lot more. It's the period where we tend to book out a lot of hotels. So it's really an important area that we're seeing. If you're in the service industry, we're expected to see economic growth in that area. So if you're looking to invest in the service industry, this is the period, this is the sector in which you can invest in the services industry, right? And then of course, we're looking at communication subsectors. The continued reopening of the economy and the return of tourists is expected to boost the services sector in the coming months. Of course, this is the period, as I mentioned earlier, where we're going to have a lot of tourism, but we need to bolster the domestic tourism because our domestic tourism within the country is still quite low. So I would encourage Ugandans as themselves to really go and promote tourism within our own country. And then we're seeing as well the industrial sector, as I talked about earlier, is also expected to perform really, really well in this fourth quarter. And we're seeing, of course, the agriculture sector. So everyone in the agriculture sector, this period is a period where we really need to start to rake out enough profit in this period. And of course, with the inflation is expected to remain within the Bank of Uganda's target. And of course, additional expectations we're going to see continued recovery in the tourism sector, and of course, increased investment in the manufacturing sector, and then improved agricultural productivity. We're also seeing the Ugandan government is taking a number of steps to support the growth of the economy and to address the challenges that it faces. Of course, these steps include implementing the National Development Plan, which is important, and then improving the business environment. These are plans the government is planning to put in place to improve, right? We're seeing investing in infrastructure, which is a huge thing, and then promoting value addition. As we talked about last week, the president was able to meet with the South African government and talk about value addition to our products. It's a conversation that's been constant throughout the month of September, is the idea of value addition. How do we add value to our own products as opposed to just importing, exporting? How do we add value to our own products so we can make more value? We make more bang for our dollar. That is what we've been talking about this whole month in terms of value addition. And of course, supporting the growth of the private sector. It's very important to support that growth in different ways. So obviously, we're looking at competitive pricing. We're looking at, of course, curbing of taxes for them. So that's going to encourage the growth of the private sector. So if you don't have a high investment rate for investors as well, that's going to be something that's going to be curbed in this period. So the government is also working to improve the social welfare of the Ugandan people. So this is being done through investments in education, healthcare, and social protection programs overall. So that is what we have for the first half of the morning hour. We're going to continue having this conversation about the forecasts and the expectations of 2023 and what is expected of you and how you should be able to plan accordingly as the month is going in. So we're going in for a very short break and we'll be back with the press release. Welcome back. So we are back with the press review. So there's quite a number. We're going to look at the Daily Monitor. We're going to look at the New Vision as well as the East African for the East African news. So looking at the Daily Monitor, the first page, we see how UWA officials ate gorilla billions. Interesting topic, right? Interesting headline. So we're saying with the corruption conversation, a series of documents, this newspaper has shown a syndicated theft of money by officials in offices and those in the field. More heads expected to roll as purge takes course. So we're going to look at that even further as we look into the news, right? So we're seeing here in the national news, Owundo gets second term as Law Society president. So we see here, this will be his final term in office. His executive council too was endorsed for another term in office for 1 more year. That's a very interesting conversation there as we're seeing here. Government bans DNA testing centers from advertising their services. So we see here the Ministry of Health has banned deoxyribonucleic acid DNA paternity relationship testing centers from advertising their services. So according to the ministry, any DNA center that will be found advertising its services will have its license revoked. Can you imagine? So there, as he quotes, there should not be any form of advertising or promotion of a DNA sample collecting center. Failure to comply will result in automatic cancellation of the license, the ministry said in a 4-page document. So we're also seeing here, we talked about how the UWA officials siphoned billions from the gorilla permits. So we see here, our inside sources say the gorilla permit scandal came to the fore when some staff deployed at Bwindi Impenetrable Forest raised the red flag about dubious transactions that were not backed by official records. Interesting, isn't that?
Very, very interesting. How are you? Good morning. Good
morning. I am very good morning, Andrew. So we're still going into the news. You're reading from the East African.
Actually, when I go through the East African in here, and of course, we see something here to do with the East African integration taste. And of course, on Wednesday, the Confederation, of course, this is in relation to the AFCON, which is going to be co-hosted by the different 3 East African nations. So this is going to be like some sort of a test. So you'll find out further when you get the details, when you get yourself a copy. That is of the East Africa. And of course, here to something in the markets. There is something on how investors lost $5 billion in East African markets. And now the cause is inflation of the currencies. There is lucrative bonds. And also what could be the cause of capital flight within East Africa. And also when we get into the outlook section in here, we see African new market for spying tech, you know, as mobile spyware, as social monitoring, car plate tracking, you know, and so many of those aspects you can really find them when you get yourself a copy of the East African.
And we're also seeing in the national news still, we're seeing a very important regarding the markets. Experts to give tips during 2023 Homes Expo. So we see here, last year when prices of cement were escalating, Benjamin Kabanda, a lawyer, opened an account at one of the hardware stores in Tinda, Kampala, to deposit money. Kabanda, who had just started constructing his 4-bedroom house in Chisasi, a Kampala suburb, said he deposited the money at the hardware shop, hoping to buy more bags of cement in the future when the prices went down. He quotes, "I knew that the hardware shop allows its customers to deposit money for the building materials they want." So more to this story as you look into the national news in New Vision.
Okay. Now, of course, something in here, a little bit political. This is to leave old note. And now, of course, this is something to do with the Somalia mission, which left in that is a flat spin. Well, I guess that is it for our traffic. Sorry, that is it for our press review. And now we're heading into our traffic. Now, of course, according to the images we observed in there, that is Access Road.
Right.
Actually, majority of the junctions has been coming. Most especially because I normally use the Berkeley route when I'm coming, which is also known to be quite a little bit. Can I say congested? Namirembe Road. It was all a little bit it was like a 5-minute interval, according to my observation.
Right, and if you're looking right now, it's not even 8 yet. It's only 7:22, and you're looking at the borders stopped at one point. This looks like it's going to be a heavy jam because I came in from Kabalagala side. I used Access Road all the way to come here to Nile Avenue, and when you know that the borders are stuck in jam, then you know that's a problem. When you start to see the borders are stuck in jam, Andrew, it's a real problem. So that's what it's looking like. So right now it's slightly moving because we have a traffic officer, but do not be fooled, the jam is getting hefty. If you look at the number of borders along the side of the road, it shows you what it's looking like.
Very, very, very true. And now, of course, that very road actually shares quite, there is the 6th Street, there is the 7th Street, there is the 8th Street, and you see all those are battling over that route to connecting through. There are people that are coming in from Chibuli, there are people that are coming in from Kabalagala, there are people that are coming in from Kasanga, and probably majority of them are not sure of the clock tower. So sometimes they find that if they can use the access road and probably branch off to Kampala Road up there, it could be one of the gateways to the city center.
And also look at the Mukwano Road as well. Mukwano Road, people coming in through that side as well. Mukwano Road bleeds in people coming from Entebbe, people coming in from Zambia, all the Zambia area as well. People are bleeding into Mukwano Road, which eventually bleeds into the access road. So if it starts to become this, of course it's the 2nd of October, it's the first day of the month. It's the 2nd, but it's the first day people going to office because yesterday was a Sunday. So we're expecting to see a lot of people rushing into work. I don't know why. I don't know what the correlation is between the last day of the month and the first day. The last day everyone is rushing in to get paid, and the first day they're rushing in to show that they justify their salary. So it's going to be quite crazy.
Why they're being paid.
They have to justify heavily why they are being paid. Or some are even getting in to get paid because this is normally the time people start to get paid. Other companies besides those that pay by the end of the month.
That is absolutely true.
So we're seeing the road heading to Ginger Road seems to be slightly clear for now. So people coming in from that side, heading to Ginger, that's Nakawa area, Nakawa Road side, continuing all the way to Mukono, continuing all the way past Boyogerere. So that road seems to be quite clear from this end, from Access Road area. So if you're coming in from that side of Garden City and you want to swivel along that road, you can swivel along that road and then you might maybe use go Pipers, I think. But the jam seems to be settling in.
Yeah, I can see it's a little bit calm. And actually, you see, this road connects straight to the Port Bell Road. Because we see people that coming in from Ginger Road and Port Bell Road. Now, Port Bell Road, people like coming in from Bugolobi, people coming in from Luzirach, Tintale. They normally, actually, in so many circumstances, that road is very crowded because of that. People from Ginger Road, Chireka, Banda, those areas, conniving with people from Port Bell Road, and sometimes, and today I'm actually very surprised that it's actually quite that calm. So people that are coming in from those areas.
But you also have to remember it's only 7:24. So for Ugandans to be this early, it's an interesting conversation, right? And you're quite right. The Port Bell Road area, we're looking at. We're going through Bugolobi, Namuongo side, people are bleeding in from Namuongo.
Some people actually
from Namuongo area, people are coming in from Bugolobi. My goodness, so the access road really is a bleeding area. It's almost like a melting pot for all the different areas.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if you're coming in from that side of Bugolobi area, so we're looking at see the roads coming from Garden City, continuing this side is getting stopped, but of course the jam is increasing slightly. So it's the best time to move right now before it gets too hefty. My predictions are by 8 a.m. it's going to be impenetrable.
Actually, one of the aspects I know about that road, the Yusuf-Lule routes, majority of the people that are coming in from town, because you see, sometimes when you're being held by the traffic officers coming in from Kampala Road and you're connecting to Ginger Road, it's quite a little bit lengthy. So majority of the people choose to use the Nile Avenue, link up to Garden City. You see that, like those taxis, majority of them have just passed through the Nile Avenue, linked up to the Garden City, now they're heading towards Ginger Road.
I see.
It's because from that roundabout of the Garden City, there is no traffic officer that is going to hold you back, so you can come in
So from this roundabout, a lot of these cars are sort of bleeding in from Mulago side.
Exactly, majority
They're
of
coming in from Mulago, Nampulabi area, Wandegea area.
Exactly.
So I'm predicting along that area, that roundabout along Mulago area should also be slightly congested.
Yeah.
Right now, but I think now is the best time to start moving.
But it's always actually, Mulago roundabout is always really tricky.
It's always a very tricky, it's a tricky place.
And they also come across, there is also one before Fairway.
Yes,
Fairway traffic
the
lights.
Fairway. And that one seems to be a little more calm compared to now the Mulago roundabout itself.
That one
then
is
that
fast.
whole stretch, normally there's like a whole stretch of no cars, and then you get to the roundabout because all the cars are bleeding in, remember. People coming from Owen Road, Wadegea side, Nankulabi side, Mulago, and then they all converge at that roundabout, and then they bleed into this area of Access Road. But right now they've released, all cars coming in from that area have been released and are moving. So if you're coming in towards that roundabout from Garden City area, the cars are moving at this time, but anytime now they will be stopped. So it's important to be careful on the roads and keep time. So that was it for the traffic update.
Yeah, that is it. And of course, right now, of course, it's 3 minutes to 7:30. The markets on the Zabo platform are going to be back anytime from now as we speak. And you can kindly participate by simply dialing *292#, which is the USSD code that will avail you with options where you'll be in position to actually buy government bond securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ghana shillings. Now, the markets are going to be opening at 8:15 a.m. They are back. You know, the weekend has been quite long, so the markets have not been in access. But now they are officially opening today, Monday, at exactly 8:15, and they'll be running up to 3:15. You can buy bonds and securities for a fee of 15,000 you get in shillings, as little as that. And this is regardless of where you're located, whether you're uptown, whether you're downtown, east, west, south, regardless of whatever part of the country that you're located at, and regardless of what kind of gadget that you have, as long as you dial *292#, you will be able to actually access these markets. So today they are back. Remember, they don't operate on weekends and the public holidays only. Yeah, but of course, the rest of the days they do operate. And that's why Zam comes out and confidently tells you, well, it's my money, it's my future. And Altex East Africa tells you that you need to do something new. Well, this is Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Barige with...
Yes, with Godwin Batuma, and we're about to get into the Karibu East Africa. So we're going to find out what's happening within the East Africa area and what is the news. We're looking here at Dr. Congo State Cobalt Buyer announces pilot mine projects, EDC targets ethical cobalt sourcing, which is an interesting part of the conversation. So we're seeing here that Democratic Republic of Congo, inactive state cobalt buyer, is set to unveil the artisanal mines it will oversee. Yeah,
I think let's first get into the break, and when we return, we shall be breaking down the matters to do with the East African news and international news.
Smart 24, driving